We're gonna ask and answer the question, what does it look like to live today with forever in mind? Does that sound like a plan? All right, and we're gonna start by way of visual aid. This rope, I want you to pretend that this rope is a timeline of your existence. So it just goes on forever and ever and ever. And now this red part right here represents your time on this planet. You get a few short years here, and then the rest of forever somewhere else. Why is it that all you think about is this red part right here? That according to Jesus, what I believe here and what I do with my life here and the ways I forgive and the way I give and the people I love and the people I serve here affects all of this for the rest of forever. In the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. Now notice, he does that by speaking. So he makes the heavens and the earth with his word, right? And with his word, he calls it good. But then sin happens. And this is the era we live in. And it's referred to as the current earth and the current heaven, or the present heaven and present earth. And both of them need to be made new. In 2 Peter 3:13, but in keeping with his promise, we are looking forward, here's that same verse again, looking forward to a new heaven and a new earth where righteousness dwells. So this is the kingdom in its fullness, which is marked by three things: righteousness, peace, and joy. So notice something. This is not evacuation theology, where Jesus blows the whole thing up and just starts over. It's the end of the world as we what? As we know it. That's actually not entirely true. Remember, he's not making all new things. He's making all things new. So what happens to our lost loved ones in the meantime? They are with the presence of God in the current heaven, only until the new earth and the new heaven. That's why Jesus can say to the thief on the cross next to him, today you will be with me in paradise. So there's something coming, but make no mistake, there is also something today. Dr. Randy Alcorn says this in his brilliant book called Heaven. The present heaven is a temporary residence where the departed saints live until the return of Christ and our bodily resurrection. The eternal heaven and new earth, once again, somebody say new earth, that is our true home. And when that day comes, we will also get new physical resurrected bodies, which is gonna be awesome. 2 Corinthians 5:3. We will put on heavenly bodies. We will not be spirits without bodies. Go read it this week at your homework. That Revelation 21 and 22 is a purpose-driven parallel from Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2 of a current earth and a current heaven becoming a new earth and a new heaven. And it's for that reason that you don't actually have to finish that bucket list this side of eternity. And the Bible teaches there's coming a day where that veil will be no more. And that fullness you're hoping you receive from this is, it's yours. God's saying, and I'll be with you. I'll be your God, and I'll wipe every tear from your eyes and every tear from your daughter's eyes. Imagine being fully known in every way and yet unconditionally loved, not just by God, but everybody else. No secrets, no hiding, no isolation. No insecurities, no comparison, no more loss or fear or pain or stress or sleepless nights, no more abuse or racism or injustice, just harmony and completion and fullness and the rest of forever to get to that bucket list. Church, you have nothing to fear and everything to look forward to, and that is the ultimate freedom I want you to experience today. Not just information that makes you smarter, but a revelation you receive from heaven that transforms and shifts shifts something on the inside of you that makes you look at the rest of forever and live today different because of that. You have everything to anticipate in the here and now. Can you believe we get to live in such an amazing place, knowing it'll be the worst place we are for the rest of forever? Here's my question. What if instead of fearing eternity, you made friends with it? I think your outcome would be two different things. And I'll give you these 2 points, and then we'll worship. Number one, I think you would have less fear and more excitement. This kind of vantage point made you absolutely untouchable in every way. Is this not the ultimate freedom? Paul has made complete best friends with the idea of forever and eternity. And it's made him the freest person to walk this planet other than Jesus. He was untouchable, completely free, and with that kind of eternal mindset, you have less fear and more excitement. And the revelation I want from you today is holy anticipation. What if I could look forward with eagerness? I'm telling you, the more you dwell on eternity, like Lewis said, the more effective you will become in this life. Your fear goes down, and your excitement goes up, amen? And number two, less apathy and more urgency. Church, what does an eternal perspective lead to? It leads to less apathy and more urgency. That eternal perspective, Christians don't get bored. Charles Spurgeon once said, "How precious must a human soul be if both God and the devil are after it?" You wanna hear a crazy stat? In the United States, the mortality rate is 100% right now. 100%. John Foreman has some lyrics in the Switchfoot song where he says, "This current skin and bones, this is just a rental and nobody makes it out of this thing alive." Which means, you guys, it is absolutely crazy and a privilege that we get to do what we're doing right now, building the local church that is God's plan A to reach the world that's full of people who don't yet know who Jesus is. What an honor. That should lead to so much passion about every single breath that we get as a gift from the one who gave it until he requires it back from us. Every day I will make count, less apathy and more urgency. The more you think about the next life, the more effective you will start to live right here. 2 Corinthians 4:16-18, I'm finishing right here. We fix our eyes. Therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but on what is unseen is eternal. We fix our eyes not on what is seen and temporary, but on what is unseen and what is eternal. We choose on purpose to live today with forever in mind. And when you start doing that, you will start to see today through a whole different vantage point. You'll start to see life different in light of eternity, including, by the way, even trials and tribulation and persecution and pain and storms and valleys right now. You start to see it different. With an eternal perspective, pain is still painful, absolutely, but it's not pointless. Because with that kind of perspective, you can see in its entirety that God really does keep to his promise of taking whatever the enemy meant for evil and flipping it around on its head and using it somehow for good. That somehow God gives even our pain some purpose and even the messiness of our lives some meaning, and making you more mature and complete and full for the rest of forever. There is an eternal glory, if you can believe it, that far outweighs anything and everything you could ever possibly go through in the here and now. With that kind of vantage point, generosity and sacrifice begin to become our privilege, do they not? Like when we eagerly look ahead to heaven, everything that you have in this life, your time, your talent, and your treasure, it all starts to become just house money. It's all house money, which means we don't have to. No, we get to. I get to give in this life freely, knowing I'll reap it 100-fold in the age to come. I get to sacrifice right now. I get to live in holy anticipation of the new heaven and the new earth that is waiting for me. That's the kind of perspective, by the way, that makes you completely untouchable, just like Paul. To live is Christ and to die is gain. That vantage point, in my opinion, is the closest thing there is to being invincible. To live is Christ and to die is gain. And so take heart in Christian, do not waste your life and the years and seasons and breaths that you have. And don't you dare live today in this life as if the purpose of it is just to arrive safely at death one day. Don't you pray small and don't you play small. Don't you risk small. Get your expectations and your hope and your faith up, focused and fixed towards heaven, because death is not the end and our hope is not in this world or in this life. It is in the one who has overcome the world, the one who promises to make all things new for the rest of forever. Amen.